This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, college football fans, and welcome to the Primetime Podcast. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the one, the only, Brandon Swanson.
Hey.
And Brandon, do we have a jam-packed show today? But before I tell you what we're going to be talking about, how are you doing today?
My gosh, I am doing great. The sun is shining. It's been hot as
balls.
Absolute balls, and it's been great. But you know what? There's not an inch of snow outside. I'm not cold.
I don't know, man. I'm
there's
fat,
there's no
I
ice.
prefer the cold. I'm fat, so I prefer the cold.
Yeah, you're like a walrus. You store a lot of that, right?
Well, it's this time of the weather. The reason why, and I've never explained this because none of you have asked after seeing a few videos. The reason why I hacked most of my hair off is because I hated having to rewash my hair daily because of sweat. I just couldn't stand it, so I hacked all of it off. Well, not all of it, but most of it.
I wash my hair every day.
No, I do too, but having halfway through the day to rewash your hair because your forehead sweats.
Oh,
yeah,
so you would.
I'm talking about that.
Oh,
I would have to rewash it because it would look disgusting in the front, and I actually care about how I look.
Rewashing.
Yeah, rewashing. So I'd have to wash my hair like 5 times a day. That's an exaggeration, but you get the point. But we got a jam-packed show today.
Like a burrito.
I'm going to go right into the topics after telling you about my sweaty forehead. But we're going to be talking about
disgusting.
2 topics to start the show that are kind of one, but if you're listening on YouTube, they are going to be split up into 2. We're going to be talking about the kind of the happenings going down in Alabama with Cam Robinson and a teammate, how these guys are getting off the hook basically because they're football players, and then that'll lead us into comments that Coach Calipari with the Kentucky Wildcats said about this whole situation with stuff that's been going on in college sports. Then we are going to move on into the Washington Huskies. Could this be a team that is a potential college football playoff sweeper? And then we're going to end the show kind of talking about a team we talked about last week, but is it finally time for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to buckle on up and join a Power 5 conference? But Brandon, we are going to start with Alabama. And basically, if you've been living under a rock, what has happened is a while ago, I want to say it was a month ago, Cam Robinson and teammate Lawrence Jones both were arrested in Louisiana for possession of a firearm, a stolen firearm too, and possession of illegal marijuana substances. And they were arrested mid-May, and today it was made known that the DA on their case basically let them go because they're football players. And the quote that I have here from District Attorney Jerry Jones, not Jerry Jones in Dallas, this is Jerry Jones in Alabama, he says, or Louisiana, he says, "I want to emphasize once again that the main reason I'm doing this is that I refuse to ruin the lives of 2 young men who have spent their adolescence and teenage years working and sweating while we were all in the air conditioning," end quote.
Well, Ricky, you said it wasn't the Dallas Cowboys' Jerry Jones, but he might as well be, because they both seem to be trying to defend and then take in guys who have committed a crime of some sort. Jerry Jones from Dallas just brings in a wife beater, and Jerry Jones...
No longer on the team, though.
Yeah, thank God. Jerry Jones here, it really sounds like these 2 guys did something wrong. Mm-hmm. And, I guess I want to say that I understand you never want to see, because you see so much potential in young people, and there are so many young people out there that you look at and you go, what's going on, man? Like, you shouldn't be doing this. This isn't you. And maybe that's where he's coming from. I don't personally know Cam Robinson or Lawrence Jones, but maybe he has a better grasp of who these men are as men, as people, and he doesn't want to see that happen. But at the end of the day, just because that is, at the end of the day, if it's your son that committed the crime, you can be so. You shouldn't have done this. You're better than this. You're this, you're that, you're the other thing. But you still did it. And I still need to turn you in.
Well, here's the thing I think of. And first off, I know that, like, the first thing I thought of was I immediately thought of everything that's been going down with Baylor. And I go, okay, benefit of the doubt, is there any way I can defend this decision? And I'm trying to think. I'm trying to, like, say, oh, well, maybe it's not as egregious of an action that what went down in Baylor. But then as I looked at it, I was like, okay, they had a controlled dangerous substance and they were in possession of illegal firearms, one of them being stolen. And I'm looking at that going, okay, no, there had to be some, like, there's got to be some sort of punishment from that. And I mean, this thing then brought me back to exactly what we talked about. I want to say it was in our first Baylor video right after it happened. It kind of goes back to the kind of theory I brought up from Colin Cowherd, where it was like, oh, big town, a lot of people to see it. Oh, small town, let's cover this up. And this one's kind of not a cover up, but it's just they're just boys will be boys because they're football players. If this was anyone else, not an Alabama player or a football player, they would have got maybe even the harshest penalty possible because they don't play football. And to me, that is, I'm stunned. I can't believe that a DA would say, oh, boys will be boys. Let these football players play because they were out in the sun while we were in the air conditioning, Brandon. Oh, while I was in the air conditioning, Cam Robinson was out there playing football, so we're just going to give him a free pass. And
you got to remember, too, Robinson, an all-SEC, a left tackle,
a guy who
entering
might
into
be
his
a
junior
top 5
season.
Draft pick.
And Mel Kiper has him as the number 7.
Yeah, top 10 could be a top 5 draft pick.
And then Jones on the other side, kind of on the bench his first couple of years, but regarded as one of the top safety prospects coming out of high school. And you know what? You know what you do? Again, it's just one of these things with football lately, is that you protect these football players from anything. And that just can't be the case. People need to understand responsibility, and they also need to realize and be accountable for things that they're doing, right or wrong. You're accountable for good things too. You know, you're accountable. It's not in the same way. Accountability makes it has a negative connotation about it, but you're accountable in a good situation just as much as you're accountable in a bad situation. And that's what people need to learn. And by doing things like this, by bringing, if Baylor brought back Art Briles and said, you'll just be on a suspension, that you learn nothing. You learn nothing.
Here's what I think. If you read the comments from DA Jerry Jones to me, I would immediately have said, oh, they must be like, if you didn't tell me who was it about, I would have said, oh, it must have been 2 high school kids. Because that now, if it was 2 high school kids, would I still think that they shouldn't get a punishment at all? No, they should have some type of punishment. But there would be a part of me that says, oh, they're doing this because they're trying to protect stupid kids. Because let's be honest, the way I see it, anyone from the age 18, even let's say, 19-year-old down through age of 0. Kids are stupid. Kids are supposed to be stupid. They don't know any better. That's why they're stupid. And I know that's probably not the right terminology to use, but that's just me being blunt with it, to where this is my own kind of personal experience coming out, but I had a mentor when I was in the teaching game, and we're dealing with high school kids, and I remember saying to him, I just don't get it. I tell these kids one thing, they go home, and then they come back, and it's like, did you not pay attention yesterday? And he goes, you'll cause yourself a lot less stress if you just remember to yourself, a kid comes up to you and you say to yourself, how can this happen? If you just say to yourself, because they're stupid, okay, fine. And then you go with it. It'll just save you a ton of stress. And it's true. I'm not saying brain book smart. I'm just saying making mistakes. We've all made mistakes as a kid. Me, you, everybody. But when you're a 20-year-old kid, and I know there's 20-year-olds that also make mistakes, but once you hit that age of 20, 21, 22, you got to start, even 19, I would say. 19 is the age where you got to start thinking. You have to have that ability to decide for yourself, this is wrong, and if I get caught doing so, these are going to be the ramifications for me. And the reason why I bring them up with Cam Robinson is because, like you said, this is a kid number 7 on Mel Kiper's big board, on the way too early big board coming into the 2017 season. We just saw in the NFL draft what can happen when, now, of course, Laramie Tunsil, that was none of his fault. Somebody hacked his account and did that. And I hope he didn't post that picture, because if he did, then he would have known he was falling. But in today's NFL, where even look at Shane Ray. Look at how far he fell 2 drafts ago just for marijuana. Just for marijuana. Randy Gregory, another one, who fell into the second round. Robert Kimdichie, he would have been the number 1 overall pick maybe to the Titans. They would have maybe never even made that trade. But he has his kind of situation that goes on, and he falls to the late first round. So the way I see it is something needs, these kids need to be not necessarily punished to where I'm saying, oh, suspended for the entire season, but you can't go into this saying, oh, well, you're fine. Just go back out there and play some football. Win us some games. Make Monroe, Louisiana proud because you're from here, man.
And, I think, and this is talked about a lot, but I think one thing that we fail to remember is that these players, they're human beings outside of football. They really are.
They're going to make mistakes.
And that's the thing. And but sometimes I hate to say this, but it's almost like sometimes they don't know better. They know better, but that's what they grew up with. That's what they grew up around. And as unfortunate as it is, it's very real, and it happens, unfortunately, all the time. Not to say that it's okay to give them a pass. You don't give them a pass because you want to show them this can't happen. And again, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care if you are the number 1 athlete in the world. It doesn't or shouldn't matter. You have to take action, because guess what? If you did something, or if I did something,
we may even get the book thrown at us.
Yeah.
I may look at the DA the wrong way and get the book thrown at me. You never know.
And see, that's the whole thing. You and I are going to do that because we don't have that prestige of being an Alabama football player or a college football player, or being, this athlete or this coach or this politician or this actor or actress. We don't have that, but either way, it shouldn't matter. You should receive the same punishment as so-and-so for the same crime, for spotlight person A. We should both get the same punishment. Neither of us are above the law. Neither of us. And that's the whole thing that this Jerry Jones is saying you are. I don't want to put you in a horrible situation, because you already were in a bad situation when we were chilling, when we were living lives, the good lives. You were struggling. You were having to work hard. Well, guess what? There are people all around the world who are doing that. And you know what? If they did something wrong, the same thing should happen for them. People just want and rage about it. Equality here, equality there. That is going to be going all around for everything. Black, white, Hispanic, gay, straight, everything. It's also, you have to be equal for person A as you are for famous person A.
Well, the one thing I thought of is when I started thinking about it more, I was like, what's one thing we mentioned last podcast when we talked about the Art Briles suspension? One thing that it wasn't a Baylor topic, but it was another athlete from a different collegiate sport that got away with a heinous crime. Yes, it was much worse than Cam Robinson, but Brock the rapist, the swimmer at Stanford. Another college athlete doing something wrong, getting a slap on the wrist, basically. And to me, this is the thing from this story that the reason why I'm, quote unquote, I would say angry, I'm going to use the word angry, is not because I think that, he did something wrong and should be punished. It's the fact that he's being let off the hook just because he's a football player. Just because he's a student athlete. Because what that is telling student athletes is, A, they can do whatever the hell they want, and B, they don't got to be accountable. You don't have to be accountable for anything because your actions have no consequences. That's what this is telling me. You get a free pass because you play football.
And my thing, too, is it's disappointment because you look at guys like this and you look at their potential and you think that even though they may have got off this time, the likelihood of it happening again, unfortunately, I feel like it's pretty high. And I think that don't throw your talent down the drain and your opportunity. People would actually literally kill to be an
position.
Alabama football player, especially one of Cam Robinson, who is projected at this point to be number 7 next year on the draft board. That is something people would kill for. That, the money, the prestige. Robinson, you've got it. And, you can get it and spend a lifetime working on getting it. And then gone.
Can we play a hypothetical?
Yeah.
You're Nick Saban.
I love this job.
You are Nick Saban right now. Cam Robinson is not going to get in trouble from the Louisiana Police Department. How do you punish him within Alabama football? Do you punish him? And if so, what do you do?
Yeah, I do. I certainly have. I mean, it's a long sit-down conversation, him and I. He's coming in my office. We're having a long sit-down conversation. We're talking about things in general. We're talking about moving forward because I think that a lot of time people, they want to focus on what happened. Coaches so much shouldn't focus on what happened. That's for people like us to focus on and talk about. But a coach, what they should be doing, what I should be doing if I'm Nick Saban, is what are we doing going forward? We're not doing this again. This isn't happening again. And I'll tell you why it's not happening again. You're sitting down. You're sitting down for, when we're coming our off season, program routine stuff like that. You're sitting down for the first part of that. You're not going to be participating. I'm not going to suspend you from any games. But you need the guy. You're not going to sit him down. And Nick Saban's not going to sit him down. But
that sets a worse precedent.
I don't think so.
That sets a worse precedent.
I don't think so. I don't think so. For a guy who has, you sit him down for things before games get started. Obviously, he still has to be in shape. He'll do that. He'll be in shape. But you sit him down for that, and you kind of take him away from being with the team during those things.
So he gets a slap on the wrist.
I'm telling you, Ricky, this is not necessarily a slap on the wrist. It is saying this is not going to happen again because the next time it happens, it is a game. This isn't a repeat offender.
I think the way I see it is, am I saying miss the entire season, kind of that type of suspension? No. I'm not going that far, but the way I see it is there has to be. Is he going to be suspended? No. You want to know why? It's exactly what you said. We need him on the field. If we don't have him on the field, we're not going to win ball games. To me, I hear that and I go, it's the same thing the DA said. He's a football player. We need him on that field. Whatever you do off the field doesn't matter because you're going to play because we need you on the field. Here's the way I see it, and this is, I'm thinking in my head one of two things. The first one would be same thing you do. Come in, talk to them, say, this is unacceptable. This is what's going to happen. Lay the ground rules. Option A, you're suspended the first 2 games. Because then you look at the first 2 games, neutral site game against the Trojans. Oh, that's a big game. That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt him to sit out that game. The next game, Western Kentucky. You can win without him. My other option, and I'm leaning more towards A, but option B could be in there. If you want to make it even sting more for him and make it feel like it'll never happen again, you tell him 3 games. Because then not only is he missing the game against the Trojans, he's missing the game against Ole Miss. Oh, is that going to sting him as a person? That is going to sting him and be like, hey, if you don't want to sit out these games, don't let this happen again. That's the way I see it. Now, like I said, I'm leaning towards option A because I feel like just sitting out that Trojan game would be enough. But if you want to really make a precedence of, I don't want this to happen again, you make sure he misses that Trojan game and that Ole Miss game. Then you get him back for Kent State, and the rest of the games you have him.
You are going to be a very, very stern parent. Because if your parenting is anything like you are when throw the death penalty at him, do this, do that, Brandon, right away. And Brandon, I'm not saying it's,
do you want a hypothetical about that?
I do, but give me a second. I do. Here's the thing, though, is that, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, because I do think that it's important. I think that I'm just saying if he doesn't miss a game, he's not going to think any bad of it. I'm not done. The whole thing is I think that the DA should have done something. The DA doesn't do anything. Why would the football team then have a suspension? If the DA brought forth some charges, then I think, okay, yes, he was found guilty by the law. And I know it's not always, the law doesn't always run the course that it's supposed to.
He should get a penalty.
We think that we have faith in the justice system, but we can't always. But I think that you understand that and you make him understand that if this happens again, it's not 1 game, it's not 2 games, we're talking half a season. Because we're talking a possession of a stolen firearm and a dangerous substance, whichever, whatever that is. But
in the end, they basically had marijuana, a handgun, and then a stolen handgun. So they had 2 handguns on them.
And marijuana, how many people do that?
Yeah, but to me, it's not just, if it was just marijuana, we're not having this discussion. To me, it's the firearms, the unregistered firearm, and then the stolen firearm. Because to me, that's something where that is, and I'm not saying that the DA, like when you say, well, if the DA didn't punish him, why would the football team? Somebody's got to. Because to me, I think it had to be done at the DA level. It had to be done there. Now, if you're Nick Saban, you have to do something, because I feel like with this kind of an offense, if you don't do the minimalist, like the minimalist for me, you miss the season opener. If you don't do at least that, it's not going to register in his head. Because how many athletes have we seen do something, not get punished, and then they're back in the same boat?
But see, that's the whole thing, though, is that this isn't. For me, it's different. This isn't a rape charge. This isn't a sexual assault. This isn't a murder. This isn't a shooting. This isn't any of those things.
That's why I said 2 games.
That's why I say no games.
See, I'm on, and this is the part where me and you disagree, because I feel like the reason why I say 2 is it's it's a substantial amount. Let's be honest, that Western Kentucky game's a throwaway. He doesn't need to play that game for Alabama to beat them. But that USC game, he misses that game, it's going to eat at him that he's not there for his team, and then you sent the message. That's all you need to do is send the message that stuff like this isn't going to fly. It's not that, oh, well, this act was so bad and that we need to punish him. No, it's just sending a message. The hypothetical I was going to hit you with, because you said that I'm going to be a stern parent, is this is the type of father I am going to be one day to my kids. You ever have a curfew when you were a kid?
Yeah, I did.
Did you ever show up late?
Yes, I did.
Without telling your parents?
Yes, I did.
What happened when you got home?
My dad said, "Do you know what time it is?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You were supposed to be home at such and such time." I said, "I know." And he got mad for a little bit. Then I sat down next to him, and we just started hanging out, chit-chatting, and everything like that. Nothing happened.
You know what I'm going to do in that situation? I'll be sitting there, living room, watching TV. Kid comes in. Just look at him. Look at the clock. Look back at them. Turn the TV off. Go to bed. Talk to him in the morning. The reason why? The mental mind game you just played with that kid. Because now they won't get a good night's sleep. And all they will is think about it. And then you talk to them in the morning. You make them feel bad for doing it. And then they won't do it again.
You're going to mess up your kids.
I'm not going to mess them up.
Yeah, they won't be able to sleep that night. Good.
It's one night's sleep. They won't do it again.
Yeah, they will.
They won't do it again.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they probably will. But I think that when it comes to this situation, I don't think... I think everything I said in the opening, everything I said in the opening is true. I don't think that they should be getting off with that, because something needs to come from that, from the legal system. But since nothing did, I think that you have them miss a little bit of your, OTA, stuff like that. But I don't think you give them any games. I don't think you suspend them for any games. This is first time. It's not like you're a freshman first time. You are a junior. And I think that I don't think that if they're not given any suspension, I would agree with that.
I'm going to stick by what I said. 2 games. And this is where I want you guys to go down below. Which do you side with? Brandon and the shouldn't be suspended for any games? Or are you going to side with me and say 2 games? And this is all if the legal system does nothing and they get no punishment from the legal system. Let us know down below what you guys think.